keeping her distance tonight because she's not feeling very good. I think she's contagious. But Amy is going to the city of Olathe. She's given us our resignation, and we're sorry to lose her. She's really done a lot of good for the city. City was running pretty lean for a few years, and she, with not a lot of support from other staff, staffed the Planning Commission and BZA. And so just want to recognize that this is the last time you'll probably see Amy here. You might see her in Olathe. But so
before you go on, I want to express how much I've enjoyed serving the city and working with all of you. Some of you for a very short time, and some of you longer. But it's been a real pleasure, and I'll miss all of you.
So what we're going to cover, we're going to go through the bylaws. We're not going to go through them word for word. And then we're going to go over the meeting procedures, which are really an addendum to the bylaws. We do have a hypothetical meeting agenda exercise that we're going to go through. It's kind of like role-playing, but not quite, so don't be too intimidated by that. I also want to cover quasi-judicial proceedings. That's going to be somewhat repetitive to what you just heard, but I think it's good to understand and know. And then Michelle's going to do the Introduction to Planning 101. We would really like, if you do have questions, just to ask the questions. If you have comments, as we go through the bylaws, there might be certain things you think are odd or you don't agree with. The Commission can, BZA can also amend their bylaws as needed. And so if you have opinions, feel free to share those. You don't have to share them here if you don't want to. You can do it outside the meeting. Be careful of the Open Records Act. But, my grandmother is named Cora, by the way, so but I don't know anybody named Coma. Anyway, so the bylaws are organized in this way: Article 1, creation; Article 2, Article 3, Article 4, Article 5, Article 6. Probably the most important part of this are Articles 3 through 5. If you have questions about the other areas of the bylaws, you have the bylaws in front of you. I think everybody has the bylaws in front of them. If anybody does not, let us know and we'll make sure they're in front of you. We've provided a copy of the bylaws to the BZA as well. And also attached to your bylaws, you should have a copy of the ordinance. Okay. The bylaws for the BZA are organized in a very similar way to the bylaws for the Planning Commission. So for the most part, you should be able to follow along. It's going to say pretty much the same thing. They tend to be a little more brief. There are a couple of sections that are different, but you should be able to follow along. And I'll try to point those differences out if I can. So going right to Article 3, some of this is fairly straightforward. Some of it is it's worthwhile to take a closer look and actually read it word for word, because there are nuances, subtleties in the language that are important to understand. So the chairman presides at all meetings. The vice chairman acts as chairman in absence of the chairman. The secretary is the city administrator or the city administrator's designee. Currently, the community development director is the secretary. Attendance, this is not addressed in the ordinance. It is addressed in the governing body rules of procedure. And I actually wrote that down, and I don't have it in front of me. But I can provide you with that. I believe it's you're not supposed to have any more than three. Is it three consecutive absences? Or miss 2/3 of the meetings within 1 year without a good excuse. And we can certainly provide you a copy of the details of that. The governing body rules of procedure are actually on the city website. Those were adopted by ordinance in March. So Article 4, meetings, Section 1, regular meetings. These are set annually, and staff has prepared, Amy Keinert has prepared, a schedule that we're going to bring to you at the next meeting. We'd like to get on the agenda at the next meeting for your consideration. and these are adopted by resolution. And that's a similar situation with BZA. They would also adopt a schedule. Section 2, the chairman shall preside at all meetings. The chairman may call special meetings and may relinquish the chair to the vice chair or other specific member. Section 3, quorum. A quorum is necessary to transact business and take any official action. The majority of the membership constitutes a quorum. Regardless of the number of members, a favorable vote of 4 is necessary for the adoption of a comprehensive plan and other specified actions. The numbers are a little different for the BZA because the BZA has 5 members instead of 7. Agendas. The bylaws state that staff must provide those to you at least 3 days prior to the meeting. Our current practice is to provide those to you on Thursday, by end of day Thursday, with the staff reports and any of the material for the meeting. Section 1, Parliamentary procedure. This refers to the Robert's Rules of Order. It's kind of, the book is this thick and it's kind of intimidating, but on its most basic level, Robert's Rules of Order sets out the order of the meeting, and that's in the way the meetings run. It's in the addendum, and it's also, if you look at today's agenda, that's how the meetings are laid out, and that's following Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's Rules of Order also addresses how to make a motion, and we'll cover that in a little more detail in a few minutes. So, order of business, Section 2 in Article 5. So I'm just going to read this verbatim because it is important. Order, roll call, approval of minutes, agenda amendments, consent agenda, agenda items, discussion items, and adjournment. The Commission may amend the order of the agenda by a majority vote of the members present and voting. The Commission may consider items not on the agenda if a majority of the Commission members vote approval to do so. Section 3, staff reports. I won't cover this in a lot of detail, but these are provided with the agenda. Continuances. So I'm not going to read this whole paragraph. You're welcome to read it. But generally, there will be those times when a continuance or a deferral might be warranted. That's the bylaws state that an applicant is entitled to 1 continuance as needed. It's not necessarily intended as a way to have you avoid making a decision. It needs to be for a good reason, lack of information, etc. It is recommended that when you do continue an item to a later date, that you do it to a date certain. If it's not done to a date certain, there could be a mistake made where we don't notice the next meeting, and then we're not providing notice of the meeting. So the idea is that you want the public to be able to know when that meeting is going to occur so they can come back and attend the meeting and take part in the meeting. Section 5, appearance before the Commission. So this, I just extracted an excerpt from that I thought was important. If required by law, in the case of an action requiring a public hearing, there are some things that will go before the Commission that do not require a public hearing. Site plan review is one of those items. Doesn't mean you don't allow for comment or anything like that, but it's not required by law. Other items like a recommendation on a rezone application or a conditional use application or a variance application require a public hearing. Commission will hold a public hearing and entertain public comment. I think I just stated this, but if a public hearing is not required, then the Commission may at its discretion entertain public comment. Generally, it's good practice to allow for that, even if you're not required to do it. Section 6 deals with incomplete submittals. Section 7, Commission action. Voting shall be by voice vote. What the bylaws state specifically is that chairman shall call for a roll call vote if there is a dissenting vote. All members, including the chairman, shall have a vote and shall vote when present. So if you go to a city council meeting, the mayor does not